Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Success Harbor Podcast with George Mazzaros, where it's all about making success happen for you.
Hi, everyone. This is George Mazzaros with Success Harbor, and I have Bob Lodick with me. Bob is the man behind ChristianPF.com. Welcome, and please say your last name. If I butchered it, I apologize.
Well, thanks for having me, George. It's Lodick, but you were close enough, and so well done.
Thank you. Please share with our audience, what is ChristianPF.com all about?
It's this website I started in 2007. It was kind of a combination of a couple things I was excited about at the time. One being personal finance and just kind of getting my own finances in order, getting out of debt, starting to save some money, and just being a little bit more wise with my money. And then the other thing I was really excited about was particularly the book of Proverbs, but really the Bible in general, and just realizing how much practical information the Bible actually had and practical wisdom it had about managing our money. Just kind of some timeless truths that seem to be, forgotten. And so I just want to shed some light on some of that. And so anyway, so that was how Christian PF was born. And so we look at personal finance from a Christian perspective.
So back then when you started in 2007, was this a hobby or a business, or what were your goals back then?
Well, definitely started as a hobby, and I don't know at the time. I don't know what most people's expectations were at the time when they started a blog, or back in 2007. I know for me, I had heard of a couple people making a full-time income from blogging, and I had heard of, so I knew there was a way to make a little bit of money with it, and I knew, maybe 1 in a million chance you could kind of make a full-time living at it. So somewhere in the back of my brain, I was maybe hoping I could do this full-time, but really it was just maybe I'll make some extra side income from this. But even if I don't, I guess what I'm saying here, it was a hobby, and if I could make a little bit of money from it, I would have been happy, and, making a full-time living would have been a dream come true, and that's why, I just feel so blessed and lucky to be living my dream come true,
It's so funny because I hear this so often, especially from people that have been doing this for a long time. I mean, you go back to 2007, but I interviewed some people that go back to 2003, which is ancient history in internet years. Yeah. And, this hobby and not wanting to make a living with their blog is a reoccurring theme for me. Were you just interested in sharing your knowledge or expertise, or did you just need an outlet to journal what you're doing in your own life?
I think it was maybe a little bit of both. I can't remember exactly what was going through my head at that time, but I do know I was excited about both these topics, and I did just want to talk about it with people, and I didn't have enough people in my personal life to have conversations with, and so I think that's what brought me online, and just knowing that I could write something and it could help someone else. And so I think that was just kind of the main motivation, just talking about it. So to answer your question, it's kind of both of them rolled up into one.
Okay. Now, so you started this out on the side in 2007. What were you doing? What was your day job back then?
I was working at a brokerage firm. I spent a couple years in banking, and then I moved over to a brokerage firm and worked in a variety of different departments. I worked with municipal bonds on our bond floor. I worked with annuities. I worked on a money market fund and our trust company. So I did a variety of different things in the brokerage firm, and that was my day job at the time. And so they were somewhat related, but just a little bit related.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about maybe the first 1 year to start with Christian PF, and I actually read your site where you said a lot of people don't know what PF is, so it's personal finance, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And it makes sense once you read it, but to be honest, the first time I looked at your domain, I wasn't sure exactly either. So I'm glad you had that post on your site.
Yeah.
But regardless. you managed to build a successful site. And what I'm interested in is mostly right now is the first 1 year, because a lot of people quit before they reach that first 12-month milestone. So what were some of the feedback that you received, or what were the signs that kind of said to you that, hey, you're on the right track, keep going with this?
I love watching seeds grow. And so I love taking something small and just seeing a minuscule amount of progress. And it motivates me. It gets me inspired. It's like I'm not somebody who has to see a big, huge result instantly, but I am somebody who needs to see small amounts of progress. And I can wait and I can be patient. And I think that's such an important part of particularly building a business through a blog, because it takes a stinking long time. And so for me, that was something that really helped me. And that whole first year was all foundational. It's like the whole first year, the first 6 months, I think I made $100 total on the site. In the first year, I don't know, maybe $1,000. But
so,
I mean,
let's go back. What is a minuscule amount of progress for you? Because I think even that, if you could give us a couple of examples of what was that, those small steps or small moves forward.
Well, yeah, I mean, in my case, I still remember the first click I got on AdSense, and I was really, really excited. And I just figured, so I made 7 cents that first click. And I remember calling my wife over, and we were looking at it, staring at the screen. We just made 7 cents. Somebody clicked on it, we made 7 cents. I was really excited about that. And I just figured that was normal, because I could see that click, that if I keep working at this, that'll turn into 10 clicks, and that'll turn into 100 clicks, and that'll turn into 1,000 clicks or whatever. But I've coached a lot of bloggers over the years, and I can't tell you how many I've had who they just view that as insignificant. They see it as only 7 cents. I don't care about 7 cents. I want to make $700 a month right now, or I want to replace my day job right now. And that is the fundamental problem that I see with so many bloggers, is that they don't have that patience or just kind of that long-range view to be able to tell that this 7 cents is a really big deal, because it's going to turn into these other things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense to me, and I can see how even 7 cents could be exciting, going from nothing, especially when you start out as a hobby. What I see a lot of times is people compare themselves to someone like you. Let's say I start blogging today, and then I look on your website and you said you have 50,000 people on your email list, right? And I say to myself, I'm the biggest loser in the world, right? Because I have 10, Instead of saying, you know what, Bob started in 2007 as a hobby, and he loved it, and he made small steps forward, a little bit of 7 cents at a time or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And he built this community. So why do you think we have problem with that? Why do you think we have problem just looking within instead of comparing ourselves?
I don't know, but I mean, the thing about it is it never goes away. I mean, I still have to fight that. I mean, I'm assuming everybody does. I mean, it's just the nature of, I guess, being a human being, and especially now on the internet where we can see everything, and we can see everything that everyone's doing and all their successes. And so, I mean, I deal with exactly the same thing. I have to consciously not get caught up in comparing myself with others and focus on my game, focus on my thing, and keep doing the things that I need to do instead of getting caught up comparing myself or seeing where I'm lacking and how I'm not doing as well at this and this as these other guys are.
So today, it's 2014. What is it, 8 years since you started approximately? How many visitors do you have to your website today? Let's say on a monthly basis.
On a monthly basis, I think we are at probably, I want to say it's like 250,000 a month right now.
Wow. And can you give us an idea of the progression to getting to this point? Like, let's say the first year, what was the highest number of visitors that you received, like in a month or in a day?
The first year, I mean, I don't think the first year, I'll bet maybe at the end of the year we were getting maybe 1,000 a month. But I don't have the exact
and did that bother you back then, or what
No.
were you thinking about that?
No, I mean, because like I was talking about before, it's like I just wanted to see forward progress. And so if I could see each month things were growing, that was all I cared about. So what made it difficult for me was if I had a month where that it went backwards. Like that was what really concerned me and what made me nervous or whatever else. But as long as each month things were getting bigger, I was thrilled to death. And in most of my journey, that's how it was going. For those first few years, it was, each month things seemed to get bigger. And then now I'm looking more at a year by year picture, because each month now there's too many variables in the equation, so things are fluctuating up and down each month. But as a year over year, that's what I'm looking for. I want to see things growing still. But anyway, that was what really kept me motivated, was just seeing that growth. And so it didn't really matter to me anyway how many there were. It was just that there were more than the previous month.
So if somebody starts today, you mentioned that you have coached many bloggers. Mm-hmm. If somebody starts today, what would you tell them to pay attention to for the next 6 to 12 months? Some important metrics.
I think the most important thing at the beginning is just to start getting traffic, doing everything you can do to get traffic and then convert that traffic into subscriber of some sort. So getting them on your email list, which I think is the best idea, or getting them to become a Facebook fan or whatever social media that you're using. Get them to connect with you and lock in with you. You don't want them to come to the site, see something and then leave and then, have to work to get them back again. And once you connect with them, you don't have to do that. So anyway, sorry, that was kind of a roundabout.
No, that makes sense because I'm glad you brought up traffic. How do we get traffic? It's almost like the chicken or the egg. Build a list. Everybody says build an email list, and then people say build traffic. Well, how do you get emails without traffic, and how do you get traffic without emails? What do you think works today in 2014?
Well, I'm still a big proponent of guest posting. It is, a lot has changed over the last few years with guest posting, because a few years ago it was a less common approach, and now a lot of people are doing it, and some people are abusing it. But I still think it's one of the best ways to grow an audience quickly. And the key being to write absolutely phenomenal content and then write it for the biggest audiences that you can possibly find. And this takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work tracking down, and not only tracking down, but getting connected with bloggers who have big audiences, and then convincing them that you can write something so incredibly valuable for their readers that they would just be silly not to use it as a guest post. But if you do that, you can really grow your site quickly. If you can get in front of a newsletter audience of 50, 100,000 people and it writes something really incredible, and then also that's tied and relevant to your website, it's like you can start getting traffic and getting new subscribers very, very quickly like that.
So how do I just started out now, let's say today, and I have some good content. How do I reach out to people? I'm not saying, maybe somebody that has like a million visitors a day, but somebody that has, respectable Alex ranking and all that, where, people, they have some visitors. How do I reach out to them? And do I already have something written, or what advice do you have for audience?
I think, and I'll just answer based on what works for me, or being on the other side of the coin. I get people pitching me stuff all the time. It's just part of the process. I get a lot of email now, and a lot of people, pitch stuff and have products or want to do this or that or want me to do this or that. And the best way is to connect with me and get to know me. And I'm just so much more responsive to that. And I don't think I'm alone in that. I think that's how most people function. It's just, I think you have much better success asking a girl out on a date once you've gotten to know her a little bit and you've made some jokes and all this, rather than just walking up to a random woman and saying, hey, can I have your number? So I think it's the same type of thing where you just have to work on that relationship and take the time necessary to develop the relationship, and give, before you're trying to receive. And, and when you do those things together, I think it just yields a much better result and opens up more doors and opportunities. So that's kind of the general overview. I mean, as far as practical steps with this, I think it's just going where the people are going and communicating with them in the areas that they are. So if they're on Twitter all the time, go there and retweet their stuff and direct message them and whatever, and just say, hey, just read this, I thought it was really helpful. I mean, and obviously this isn't to manipulate them, but it's to just genuinely connect with them, And so if they're making a joke on Twitter, I mean, respond and play along and just get to develop that relationship. And if it's email, then do it via email, or if it's on Facebook or whatever. But just try to connect with them on a human level and get to know them. And I think that's the best way to kind of lay that foundational groundwork.
How many of these do you think is manageable for somebody? Because I mean, you can only have 10 hours a day to do this. So what do you say is should you try to do this with 10 other bloggers or 100, or what do you think is a reasonable and doable number?
Yeah, I mean that's a tough question to answer.
How long is a piece of string kind of question.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I just want people to feel like, well, this is doable. Like, or you know what, I there's no way I could stay in touch honestly with this many people.
Well, yeah. And I would start with one. I mean, start with one blogger. I mean, look in your niche, see who some of the big players are, or see, And the other thing is, you can go to Google and do a search on their site and find out if they accept guest posts. I mean, that's a good starting point. And that'll at least give you an idea, because some bloggers don't accept them. And so that gives you a good idea of maybe who you want to target. And then just spending a little time, and just start with one and then see how that goes, and get those results for yourself. Do a guest post with them, like get that big victory of getting the guest post with them, and then see how much traffic you got from it, or how many new subscribers you got, and then use that as motivation to fuel you for the next one, and say, okay, well, I did get a big benefit from this, so it's worth doing this additional work to do this again, or to do it for 5 more, or whatever else.
Well, that sounds doable, starting with one, and I don't think that should be overwhelming for anybody. So, yeah, that makes sense. One is a good start. Let's talk about at what point did you feel that ChristianPF.com was potentially a business? You mentioned that early on your first click was 7 cents, but I'm sure at some point you started to generate enough revenue to think to yourself that maybe there is going to be a business. Maybe this is more than a hobby.
Yeah.
When did that happen, and how did that happen?
Well, my story is kind of unique. I did something which I absolutely do not recommend, but so I got laid off just about at my 1-year mark. And at that time I was making not very much. I want to say maybe $100, $200 a month from the website. And I took my severance package, threw it in the savings account, and tried to do it full time. And so at that point I was forced to think of it as a business, because my back was up against the wall. I had a set amount of time. I basically probably had about 6-9 months living expenses, if we were living very frugally, to bring this up to my old day job income. And so that's when I viewed this as a business. And thankfully, within 9 months, we went from there. In another 9 months, I was up to where my day job income was. So, yeah, I mean, it's pretty... Yeah, I don't recommend that at all, but that was kind of my path and what happened for us.
So roughly by 2009, at some point in 2009, your income replaced your day job income.
Yep.
Pretty much.
Yep.
Okay. And how do you generate revenue today, and how did it change over years in terms of revenue generation for your business and your site?
For me, I started almost exclusively using AdSense, because it's just the easiest way to get in the game. And so that was the primary source of my revenue for really the first few years. And then as the traffic grew, I joined up with some CPM ad networks, which don't really make sense at the beginning if you're just getting a few thousand visitors, because it's just not you don't make a whole lot for such a small amount of traffic. But so I've gotten more into the CPM networks, and then also at this point I'm doing a bit more affiliate marketing and stuff like that. So I have some different articles that we're generating some affiliate leads from, and so those are the three primary revenue streams at this point. Okay.
And would you recommend for somebody to start out still to try AdSense, or do you think it's no longer a viable option?
I think it depends on the niche. Certain niches do a lot better with AdSense than others. But I still really like AdSense because it is so stinking easy. It's like you just put the code on your site and it's there. And I talk about in the book that, the importance of placement, ad placement and things like that. And that's really, really important. I think I tripled my earnings by moving an ad from one location to another on the page. So it's really, really important where you put the ads, but AdSense I still really like, and I use it on all my sites. I think every single site is AdSense.
Okay. So let me put you on the spot real quickly. What is a really good spot to put an ad on a blog?
My favorite spot, my best performing spot on all of my blogs is directly below the title, the post title. So in the middle of the content, right below the post title. And so I like to use a custom-sized ad right there to make it a little bit less obvious that it's AdSense because it's shaped a little bit differently. But yeah, that's my favorite spot, my best performing spot.
Great. Tell me, how do you mentioned you have about 250,000 visitors plus minus a month. Mm-hmm. How do you market your website? What do you have to do today to grow your visitors?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's something that's a never-ending challenge. I mean, that's something, every day I'm thinking about that, and I'm trying new things. I've been spending a lot of the last 6-9 months, I've been spending a lot of energy on Facebook, growing our Facebook audience, trying to generate traffic from that. I'm spending a lot of energy on Pinterest right now, trying to generate traffic from Pinterest. We historically have done very well through Google. Over the last year, our traffic from Google has declined a bit. So anyway, we're still focusing energy on trying to get search traffic as well from Google and the other sites or the other search engines. But I'm more aware of the importance of diversifying your traffic sources and just not putting all your eggs in one basket, particularly the Google basket.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I hear from it quite a lot from bloggers. Maybe about 20% of their traffic anymore comes from search engines, where it used to be 100%,
yeah.
Maybe in 2007 and before even.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how that is changing.
Yeah, for sure.
So in terms of promoting your website, okay, you mentioned Facebook, Pinterest, Google. But what else do you do? I mean, do you do content marketing? What are some of the strategies that you do to market your site?
Well, this is another one of those things where it depends a little bit. I mean, the things I'm doing now are different than I did back then, and even if I were starting now, I would be doing different things because I'm at a different size. I mean, right now we have 54,000 email subscribers, so I can send out a post and they're going to share it on Facebook for me, and they're going to do a lot of things. You know what I mean? So it's some of the things that I'm doing now are different than what a beginner or even intermediate blogger needs to do. So for me right now, I'm focusing on creating just a lot of really helpful content that people can't help but want to share. And because I feel like more and more, I mean, like you mentioned about Google and how things have shifted, we're moving into an era where and we've seen this coming, but the social element is becoming so incredibly important, and things are moving virally, just at a crazy pace, and being able to systematize a little bit of that is becoming more and more important, I think. So I'm focusing a lot of my energy on that these days.
So you mentioned that you have 54,000 plus email subscribers today.
Mm-hmm.
How long did it take you to build that list? I mean, were you building your list since day one back in 2007?
No,
or?
That's a good point. Yeah, I didn't even think much about an email list really for the first few years. Sadly, I wish I would have focused on it a little bit earlier, but probably about 3 or 4 years ago, I got serious about it. I had a conversation with a guy at a conference, and it just kind of hit me, and I just had this revelation. It's like, wow, I have all these people coming to my site. They're looking for an answer to their problem, the ones who are coming from Google or whatever, or a lot of referral traffic, same way. And, my website is providing that answer, and then they got their answer and they're leaving and they're gone. And it's like, and I'm not doing a good job of trying to capture them and stay connected with them. And once they're on my email list, I now can email them and stay connected with them, as long as they're on it. And it just made me realize I really got to get focused on this. And at that point, which I don't remember exactly, probably 3 or 4 years ago, I started making a much more aggressive push to build my email list. And just by, my homepage, I had a big box trying to recruit people to sign up for the email list. I put some at the end of the post. I've done a variety of different things to get more and more people to sign up. But really, it's been the last probably 3 or 4 years.
Okay. Now, I found several of your books on Amazon. Your book, How to Make Money Blogging, How I Replaced My Day Job with My Blog. It has 237 reviews, and it's very highly reviewed, so, great reviews. Tell me, how did writing this book help your business?
It has connected me with a lot more. It connected me with a different audience. Because most of these people are finding it from Amazon. It's ranking pretty well on Amazon right now, and it has been for a while. And so a lot of these people who are searching through Amazon are just different. They're just a different crowd than who would have found me otherwise. And I am moving into books. I've been writing a few more. I just finished a new one, and so this is kind of a new diversification, if you will, that I'm just kind of spreading out into another thing, and I really enjoy it. But so anyway, so writing that book, ultimately it helped my business because it made me realize, A, that I could do it, and B, that people actually liked what I wrote. I mean, at least in that book, it has very good reviews in a lot of them, and so that that encouraged me to keep going, and as a result, I've been slowly building my book revenues.
Yeah, it's interesting because I interviewed Steve Scott. I'm not sure if, and he wrote about 41 or so books, and I asked him about what's really, really important, and he said to have his email list to market his books. And I mean, with the size of email list that you have, I think I was surprised, to be honest. I was surprised to see I saw some other books, but really this is the one that has so many great reviews.
Yeah.
And I was surprised to see only one book on this topic. I thought you would have like maybe 20 books already on this. So
well, the new one's on that topic. The new one is the long-awaited follow-up. So
yeah, I'm sure it's going to do well. You have your own author page on the Huffington Post.
Uh-huh.
Tell our audience what it took you to get there. I mean, it's obvious it's an A-list online publication, and what did it take you to get that opportunity?
Well, I'll tell you what. It actually, the funny thing about all this is, I mean, going back to the original thing, what we were talking about with guest posting, is it comes down to connecting with other people. And so in my case, I've been doing this for years. The personal finance blogger community is a great community, and I've connected with a lot of these guys over the years, and we've gotten to know them. And so that turned into, so a lot of these guys who I did guest post with, turned into a relationship where we had a friendship, and that led into, just kind of emailing once in a while, and then that led into me joining a mastermind group with a lot of these guys, and then that led to somebody saying, hey, the HuffPost is looking for, some specific writers about these topics who are really good. If you're interested, you can check it out. So anyway, so that was how the door opened up. So my point here is that it all comes back to the connections. And so it was kind of a seemingly, just not real exciting intro to the Huffington Post, but it came as a result of making those connections, many of which were started by guest posting. So.
Okay, yeah, and networking is also something that comes up over and over again.
Yeah.
Is even though with all this technology that we have, there's no substitute for knowing people and
Exactly.
building real relationships with people.
Yeah.
Now, how did that impact your business in terms of traffic and visibility? Did it have a substantial impact, or?
No, I mean, the Huffington Post is kind of, at least in my experience so far, I've written 5 articles for them. I mean, in my experience so far, it's not anything to be too excited about. It's definitely opened me up to some new audiences, in which I'm excited and thankful for. But I mean, total traffic coming, it's nothing too exciting. And I think it depends how and where the article is promoted. So one of the articles got heavily promoted, and it did send a whole lot of traffic. But the other ones, if they didn't, I don't know if they don't make the front page or how it works. But I think it is very much a hit or miss type of thing. Where if you write the right type of article, it can send a lot of traffic. But if you don't, it's nothing too exciting.
I mean, so far since you started in 2007, it sounds everything went really well. But I'm sure there were some challenges. I'm sure there are challenges now. How do you deal with the kind of a roller coaster ride of being an entrepreneur? Does it get easier, or it doesn't affect you, or can you talk about that?
Yeah. I mean, you're right. It's definitely a roller coaster ride. And I think one of the interesting things for me, or one of the challenging things for me, is I was on an uphill ride with the roller coaster for so long that once it even took a little dip, it's just tough to handle emotionally. When you're used to going up for years and years, and then you see a little bit of a dip, it messes with you. But yeah, it is. It's just something that you have to realize there are ups and downs. There are business life cycles that things move through, and today at a phenomenally quick pace, and you have to be able to adapt, and you have to know when things aren't working, and be ready to shift and make adjustments. And these are all things that I am actively thinking about and working on now. Just because I don't want to be caught, trying to run a business in 2014 with the techniques of 2007. And it's really.
So what was a shift that you had to make, let's say this year, or maybe in the last 6 months, or last year even? That was a major shift that was kind of unexpected.
Well, I mean, for me, my bread and butter was SEO. So that was all I focused on for years. And that was it. And I didn't care about anything else because I was getting so much traffic from Google. I just didn't care. And then once Google made some changes and tweaked things, it suddenly became, I became aware that I can't completely depend on Google, and I have to find other ways to get traffic. And so that's been a couple-year process where I've just kind of been trying to diversify. And, I'm still very thankful for the amount of Google traffic that we get, but that was a big shift for us, where I had to realize, all right, we need to find new ways to get traffic. The things I was doing before, while they're still working a little bit, aren't working to the degree that they were. And I mean, I became aware just of how much traffic social media can send when you are doing things right. And so that's my new thing that I'm working on more actively now and trying to learn.
Okay. Now, if somebody came to you, let's say in your family, or maybe in one of your friends that saw your success in business, and they had a job today and say, I'd like to be a successful entrepreneur, what would be the first thing that you would teach that person?
Are they wanting to build a blog, or are they any old business?
It doesn't matter. They basically, because I mean, in a sense, it's a blog, but it's a business, right?
Yeah.
So what is it? What does it take? What does it take, to succeed, or even just to have any level of success?
Yeah, I mean, as an entrepreneur, I mean, there's a few things that I feel like I've learned that just really seem to be important. I mean, the persistence aspect of it is just incredibly important. You have to be able to fight through the emotional ups and downs. You have to be able to fight through when you feel like giving up and quitting. I mean, because everybody feels like that. Everybody has moments where it's not going good. I mean, the whole overnight success thing, it's like we see glimpses of that, and then we begin to think that's normal. And if that's not happening for us, then we're failing. And the reality is that's just not how it works most of the time. Most people, most successes in business, and really in most areas of life, is just a long, steady process of slow growth. And so anyway, so I just think that's incredibly important to success as an entrepreneur. But also the ability to learn quickly, learn from your mistakes, find answers that you need quickly to problems, not let them just linger and linger and linger. That's something that I see hangs up a lot of entrepreneurs that I come across. They'll find one little problem and it'll just derail them completely. And it may be something that they could find somebody on Fiverr to fix for $5, or something that they could spend 10 minutes on Google and find a solution to. But it seems like a really big problem, but it causes them to derail. So just that kind of tenacity to learn is really, really important as well.
Sounds good, Bob. Well, I want to thank you for coming online today and sharing your story.
Yeah,
how can people connect with you?
Well, my website's Christian PF. You can go there and check everything out. As far as the new book that I mentioned that just came out, it's called Pro Blogging Secrets, and it is over at Amazon as well. So,
Pro Blogging Secrets and ChristianPF.com. So everyone, check it out. And Bob, thank you, and I hope you have much success in the next 8 years going forward.
I appreciate it, George. Thank you.
Thank you.